And I hope you are having that habit of, joining with your VPK domain email IDs. You are keeping it. Okay, so here we go. Okay, I welcome you in the lecture series of Systems in Mechanical Engineering. I am Professor Vishal Bhagwat. This is our 8th lecture. Okay, we have completed the unit number 1, which was related to energy sources and some of the power plants which can produce the electricity. Okay, and we have seen there turbines which will be actually helping us to give some mechanical power to generator, and then generator will produce the electricity. So how these kind of power plant, hydraulic turbines, then the steam turbines can be used in different power plants that we have seen. Okay, so that unit was about applied thermal engineering, and this unit is also about thermal engineering. But here we have some other devices, some compact devices. Okay, in unit number 1 we have seen power plant, the big one, and here we have another different kinds of thermal devices. Okay, which will have give you certain effects or the required power. Okay, but of course in less quantity, less amount. We'll see what are the content. This is the lecture number 8. Okay, you start typing your roll numbers in chat box. Okay, fine. So this is content of unit number 2, that is introduction to thermal engineering. We'll be looking at again 3 sections. One is the laws of thermodynamics. Okay, so here you'll be looking at different laws, right from, we'll see from Zero's law. Okay, Zero's law, first law, second law of thermodynamics, if possible third law. Okay, but I guess for syllabus and for your scope, I mean in first year, for first year student, it's better to learn only up to second law of thermodynamics. Then we'll see the heat engine, heat pump, refrigerator. Those are running based on the second law of thermodynamics. And also, of course, there is second law of thermodynamics. It will be again following the law of first law of thermodynamics. Okay, so we'll see simple numericals based on this. Then modes of heat transfer. In that you may be knowing modes of heat transfer by conduction, convection, radiation. Okay, so based on that, how we can get different heat transfer rate. Okay, and what will be the effect of that? So we'll be solving some numericals on that. We'll be looking at laws of heat transfer for conduction, convection, radiation. That's Fourier's law, Newton's law of cooling, and Stefan-Boltzmann law. Okay, that is nothing but the law of heat transfer for conduction, convection, and radiation, respectively. Then some of the thermal devices. So this is the interesting part. Okay, in fact, the complete syllabus of the systems in engineering is very interesting, because you come across these devices which will be covering in systems in mechanical engineering day to day life. Okay, daily you are coming across these devices, so one can know how these are working, one can know how this can be maintained in good condition, what is the efficiency, and in case those are giving some problem, then how to rectify them. No? That's why the systems in mechanical engineering syllabus is there for all divisions. This is not optional like 1 2 3 and 4 5 6. Okay, it is for all. And what you are looking at here is the 2-stroke 4-stroke engines, when you have fuel like import petrol, diesel, CNG. Okay, and then steam generators. So some of the part, these devices are also called as power producing devices. Some of the part of it we have seen in unit number 1. So it's better to start with this third section. We'll go in reverse manner this way. We'll see first the thermal devices, then we'll see the laws of thermodynamics, and then we'll see the modes of heat transfer. We will start from the applied thermodynamics, okay, and then we'll go to basic. Why? Because it will create some kind of interest to you. Some questions will be there, those will be rectified once we cover the laws. Okay, so fine, shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now, before going to the steam generators, as you know, steam generator, it will be something which will be generating steam, right, out of water. So water will be boiling at very high temperature. So you will get steam at very high temperature and pressure. Somebody is coming. Several times I ask you to join with VPKBIT domain email ID, but you are not. Okay, good, very good. So this is now the thermal power plant. Just have a look on it. Okay, this is not the exact requirement here in unit number 2, but this is what we want: the steam generator. This is a boiler. So steam generators are nothing but the boiler. Okay, you have to concentrate each and every lecture, not only for SME, for other subjects, and do not rely on any local publication book. Okay, try to focus on the lectures. You will get surely notes. Okay, and not if not possible, you can buy any book from the local market. For SME, you can buy Tech Knowledge publication, systems in mechanical engineering, and the publication is Tech Knowledge. I repeat, Tech Knowledge is quite good. I will not say better, it's quite good compared to others. There are technical, okay, then Tech Max and Nirale publication. These are the different varieties of publication, local books. But always try to refer our videos and the notes given by the faculties. Okay, do not rely on this kind of books. However, you can refer systems in mechanical engineering for by Tech Knowledge publication. Okay, fine. So just have a look on it. Okay, this part, this right part is same for most of the these power plants. Okay, power plant which will produce electricity. Okay, this is in large number, large size. Then here what you see, this is a hot well or the reservoir from which the feed pump is pumping the water into the boiler. Okay, you just remember what I'm saying here. Okay, try to focus here. So this is a symbol of pump. Always draw this kind of symbol, and at the here involute you need to get some dot, so it will give you good representation for the pump, feed pump. So this is a symbolic representation of feed pump in mechanical engineering. So this is pumping this water and supplying to the boiler. What is happening in boiler? Basically, in the boiler, there are so many small devices, of course, but there is a one tank where water is a closed vessel. Okay, the water is stored there and supplied there. Actually, it is stored there for heating. It is getting continuously heated, and then it will be converted into steam. Okay, now this is boiler. This is a complete section is boiler. What is there? You'll see. This is a water tube boiler. Why? Because these are the tubes of water. If you see the black color one, these are the tubes of water. So feed pump is pumping water inside it, and then it is going to this section of tubes initially. You see, it is going here. I can show the cursor. You have to concentrate on it. Have a look, close look. This is this section of water tube here. This section of water tube is called economizer. Economizer. Now, economizer, its name itself said something which saves the your economy, which controls your economy, right? Similar. So economizer, and what is happening here? At the base, you see there is a combustion chamber. Combustion chamber where actually you are burning coal or diesel. Okay, so fuel you are burning here. Why? Because you need to transfer the fuel heat to the water, and water cannot be in direct contact with the combustion chamber, right? So there has to be some tubes. Either combustion chamber flue gases, hot flue gases should be in tubes, or water should be in tubes. If water is in tube, then that is called water tube boiler. If hot flue gases are passing from the tube and around the tube there is water in the tank, so that is called smoke tube or fire tube boiler. Fire tube or smoke tube boiler. You got it? So here water is flowing from the tube. That's why this kind of boiler can be said as water tube boiler. So first section was I said economizer. What is happening here? You see, from combustion chamber, hot flue gases are passing. Okay, those are very hot, sometimes very red hot near to the combustion chamber. Again, somebody is waiting. Yes, come fast. Who is waiting? Okay, fine. So from a combustion chamber, hot flue gases are coming, correct? And those are very hot. Okay, those are very hot. It may have some ash also. Okay, some ash particles, some dust also there. The hot fume dust will be there. Flue. I say flue. Okay, hot flue gases. FLUE. Flue gases. So this are passing like this. Okay, as those are passing from this section to top of the chimney. This is a chimney which is allowing this hot flue gases to enter into the atmosphere after extracting, after giving all the heat to the this sections. Okay, this section, I'll say sections. Economizer, okay, the superheater, water tube stage, this air preheater. So again, come here. So this hot flue gases are passing, and those are giving heat to every section. Almost 4 sections are here. Water tube stages, which is very close to the combustion chamber. Water tube stage, this one. Then second stage is superheater stage. Okay. Third stage is the economizer, and fourth stage is air blower or air preheater. There is an air blower which will suck atmospheric air and it is sending into air preheater section. What is happening inside the air preheater? The atmospheric air, which is at normally 27 degrees Celsius air, that is heated to at some quite high temperature, maybe 40 degrees Celsius. Why? Because these hot flue gases are while passing, those are hitting to these sections. So air preheater is also getting heated. Now that hot water you are supplying back to the combustion chamber. Okay, this hot water you are supplying back to the combustion chamber, and that's why the fuel burning efficiency is going to increase. Fuel burning efficiency is going to increase for the combustion chamber. The fuel. Now for burning, okay, for burning we require some oxygen. That means air. That is very known phenomena. Now for burning, if you have very cool air around it, okay, around the combustion zone, then there will not be complete combustion. Are you getting it? There will not be complete combustion. So how do you increase the efficiency? So that is the technique. What is it? So, and anyway, these hot flue gases are passing. No, these are passing. So while passing also, you are trying to extract heat so that the efficiency of boiler is ultimately going to increase. Understood? So that's why these are the different efficiency devices. These are called some of the here you will see on the boilers there are some of the mounting and accessories. Okay, so we'll see later those things. So in the preheater, air is getting heated, and that hot air you are supplying back to the combustion chamber so that efficiency of burning, the fuel efficiency burning will be increased. Burning, basically fuel burning is increasing, so efficiency is going to increase, thermal efficiency. Okay, fine. So and now while passing, those gases are giving heat to the water tube as well, and it is giving heat to the economizer as well. So first, actually water is coming in the economizer, not in the boiler water tube stage. So in the economizer, water is initially, when it is coming, it is around 27 to 30 degrees Celsius somehow, or 25 to 30 degrees Celsius. So that is getting heated in the economizer up to 70 degrees Celsius. Okay, 70 or 80 degrees Celsius. But yet it is not boiling. Okay, so that hot water now of 70 to 80 degrees Celsius, it is supplied down to the water tubes near to combustion chamber. Now those are immediately giving heat. Those are very hot gases near to combustion chamber. So now suddenly this water in the tubes, this section tubes is starting boiling. It's starting boiling. So now it is converting into steam, and now as it is becoming dense, very lighter, density is going to decrease. Okay, as it is becoming vapors, steam. So that is going in the next stage of the tubes, and those are called a superheater. Why? Because when those hot passing gases are in contact with this section of tubes, that is superheater, this steam, which is actually wet steam, the steam is having water droplets, water particles. So that steam is getting heated here, and it will be converted into very high pressure and high temperature. That's why we say it is a superheated steam. Where do you get it? In the superheater. In the superheater, you get superheated steam, which will be having high pressure and high temperature. Normally, it is a superheated steam, dry steam, you can say, very hot, high pressure. So that steam is collected at the steam mains, some kind of wall, which will allow only required quantity of steam to be passed over the turbine. So this is a steam mains. Here you can control the steam, and you can pass only required amount of steam on the turbine. Then, as you know, in the turbine, pressure energy, high pressure energy of the steam is utilized to convert the rotation of the shaft, and it will leave the low pressure steam down. Okay, so pressure energy is utilized to rotate the turbine. Once turbines are rotating, the shaft is coupled with the generator, and generator can produce the electricity. It will be supplied to the grid. Okay, fine. Then low pressure steam, which is coming out from the turbine, it is collected at the condenser, and in the condenser it is getting cooled, and again it is that condensate extraction pump is utilized to extract this water and send back to the this hot well. So that's why it is called as a hot well. Why? Because you are getting little bit hot water from the condenser here. So it is nothing but the reservoir, and it is also called as a hot well. Okay, so makeup water will be supplied from this reservoir. Okay, this is hot well, and there may be some other source if this is not sufficient. So there will be some tank or the river or pond. From that you can supply the makeup water if required. Okay, this makeup water. So this is about the thermal power plant. What you should be interested in here is the what is a boiler. What you have seen here in the boiler, there is a preheater, there is economizer, there is a superheater, there is a water tube. Understand? Combustion chamber, near to that there are stages of water tubes, but economizer is first, where the hot water is coming near to the combustion chamber. It is getting heated in the water tubes, and then it will be sent to the superheater, where in the superheater it will be converted into very hot steam, dry steam, superheated steam. So that is collected and supplied over the turbine. This is nothing but the boiler. Okay, and you should be interested in, like I said, boilers or steam generators. So this is the boiler. You are looking at economizer, superheater here, air preheater. Okay, this is very simple. Here feed pump, then feed pump is supplying water to the economizer. There is heated up to 70 to 80 degrees Celsius. Then it is coming down. Then there is a water tubes. It is again heated here at very high temperature, more than hundreds, of course. So it starts converting into water, steam, but steam is wet. It may be having some water droplets, and then here that water droplets also removed by passing these hot gases, and in the superheater water is steam is converted into superheated steam that is collected at a steam vents, and then next is turbine. So this is the steam generator. Now if you talk about the boiler mountings and accessories, like you have for your laptop or computers, there are different accessories. For your mobile phone there are different accessories. So accessories are just to supplementary things. It has nothing to do with the performance of CPU, right? Nothing to do. Let's say mouse, the keyboard, nothing to do with the performance of CPU, right? So those are different simple accessories. Okay, so those will be actually the increasing the efficiency of your work, correct? Your work efficiency. So actually boiler accessories are the economizer, then superheater, then air preheater, and feed pump. Okay, feed pump also, because it is supplying some water. Okay, some quality of water, some quantity of water. So feed pump, air preheater, and superheater and economizer, these things are called as a boiler accessories, because those are increasing the ultimately the efficiency of boiler. How do you say the efficiency? What you are interested in to say it is increasing efficiency? Because whatever water is coming inside, no, everything you have to convert into dry supersaturated steam. Okay, supersaturated steam, superheated steam. So for that purpose, these are the important devices which will be increasing the efficiency. Understood? And these are the mountings. These are for only safety purpose, or these are some kind of indicators how boiler is performing, how boiler is running, what is the stage of running. So a stop wall is one. I have not shown any of these devices here, but you can understand with the name its function. The stop valve, it will stop the water which is coming in, okay, stop valve, or the steam which is going out, right, towards the turbine, stop valve. Safety valve is on the boiler, like you have, you know, the pressure cooker, right? Pressure cooker. So pressure cooker is having some dead valve there, dead weight valve. That is nothing but whistle. Okay, in the pressure cooker, when pressure increases at certain level, the whistle is, you know, ringing. I mean, it will be lifted, and then some amount of pressure released is there. Okay, pressure is released in terms of steam. Steam is going out. So what is it? It is a dead weight safety valve. Dead weight safety valve, because I hope you are imagining the pressure cooker which is at your home. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Good, good. So if you remember your pressure cooker, you try to imagine it, try to recall it. So pressure cooker is having different capacity in this is a question for you. In tomorrow's lecture, you will be answering me. I mean, giving me reply. How the pressure cooker capacities are defined. Okay. Normally we see pressure cooker in 1 liter, 2 liter, half liter, something. So why it is in liter? Okay. Why it is in liter? So that is the question for you. Okay, fine. Come back to our pressure cooker. Okay, so it is having some whistle, that is nothing but dead weight safety valve. Why dead weight safety valve? Because it is having certain weight, and based on its weight, its pressure is designed. So as pressure is rising above certain level, then only the dead weight, that whistle is getting lifted. Once it is lifted, then from the pores, from those small pores, steam will come out. Again, pressure will be decreasing inside the container, I mean your pressure cooker, and then dead weight will be going down. So again, pressure rising is taking place, again it will be lifted. So you normally do 3 whistles or something for any cooking. So that is nothing but the safety valve. So here also some kind of safety valves are there, which are showing now this pressure has been increased too high. Now we need to go, I mean, we need to release certain pressure. So pressure is, steam is released from this valves and pressure is maintained. Okay, adequate. Otherwise, boiler may burst. Okay, so those valves are very important, safety valves. Water level indicators, as name suggests, or with the name you can understand, water level indicators. That means it will show you, or it will give you the water level inside the boiler shell or boiler tubes. Okay, fine. Pressure gauge, it will give you the correct recordings of the pressure inside the boiler. Okay, so it will give you pressure recordings. You can regulate it, you can check it, you can monitor, of course, you can monitor it. Fusible plug, again one more important device. Fusible plug, what is it? The fusible plug is nothing but, this is some kind of metallic device. A fusible plug, you know, fuse is there. In everybody's home, there is a fuse. And what is the function of fuse? When voltage increases, your voltage supply is too much, or current supply, you can say anything. Okay, so power supply is too much to your home, then the fuse is getting melted. Okay, the fuse is getting melted, and so there is a disconnection of the supply. So fuse, you know, electric fuse. Now here fusible plug means what? At the bottom of some of the water tubes or the complete boiler shell, this will be shell. Okay, so there is a small fuse plug here, fusible plug, which is a metallic. So when, or metallic or any material which will be melted, okay, which will be melted at very high temperature. So very high means, of course, at more than 100 degrees Celsius, whatever you keep the fusing temperature for the plug. So once it is melted at high temperature, from there water will be leaked, and that water is sprinkled over the combustion chamber, some of the part of the combustion chamber, and that's why the burning will be controlled. Okay, not complete combustion chamber. In some part of the combustion chamber, the fusible plug, once it is melted, water is directly coming there. It is sprinkling the water from, it will be leaking actually, and then this combustion or the burning of the fuel will be controlled. Okay, so that is nothing but the fusible plug. Blow off cock. Okay, so blow off cock is nothing but when you have a quite large amount of water which is not required. Okay, and if you want to do some maintenance of the boiler, then you are making it empty. So blow off cock is that from where you are releasing all the water which is inside the boiler. Okay, so this is about boiler mountings, and this is about boiler accessories. Boiler accessories are always increasing the efficiency of the boiler, and these are the safety element boiler mountings or the indicators. Fine. So this is about steam generator. We'll see the classification quickly. Okay, so based on the capacity, based on the capacity of a boiler, I can I mean, people are defining this boiler into low pressure boiler and high pressure boiler. So what is the low pressure boiler? Basically, low pressure boiler is nothing but when a boiler is able to give you pressure more than 20 bar. Just a minute, who is coming? Taure. Too much disturbance. Anyway, so when pressure is more than 20 bar, you remember this, when pressure is more than 20 bar, then such boiler is called as a high pressure boiler. When pressure is able to build up there lower than 20 bar, then it is low pressure boiler. Low pressure boiler can be used for certain application. Of course, high pressure boiler are used for electricity generation and then certain food processing. Low pressure boiler also can be used for food processing. Okay, food processing and other applications are there where you want very hot steam. Floor cleaning is one. Okay, in the industry, because sometimes when so many machineries are working, okay, normally oil gets spilled down on the floor, and it is very sticky surface, and you know, when oil is sticking there for several days or months, what will be the structure of the floor, right? So it has to be cleaned with the hot steams. Okay, so that may be a cleaning application. So but you understand what is the high pressure and low pressure boiler. So less than and more than 20 bar pressure. Based on relative position of the water tubes, water inside the tubes, then water tube boiler. Then fire or smoke inside the tube, then it is fire tube boiler. You understood? You understood it? So relative position of water. Where is the water in the boiler? So there are two kinds of boiler. One is water tube boiler, another is fire tube boiler. When you see the water is heated in the tubes, then it is water tube boiler. Water is heated in the tank, but what is there in the tubes? So basically fire or smoke is passing from the tube, then this is called as a fire tube boiler. Fine, we'll go quickly now. Based on location of furnace. So furnace or combustion chamber. Okay, furnace or combustion. So in the boiler, sometimes there are furnaces located outside, so you say it is externally fired boiler. Sometimes the combustion chamber is inside the boiler, so it is called as a internally fired boiler. Okay, and these are the examples. When you see the low pressure boiler, Cochrane boiler is the example. When you see the water tube boiler, fire tube boiler, then Cochrane boiler is the example. When you say the internally fired boiler, then Cochrane boiler is the example. Now, Cochrane boiler, you have seen, maybe we'll see in the practicals, it is a vertical boiler. Okay, it is a vertical boiler. It is actually a fire tube boiler. Combustion chamber is internally kept, and hot flue gases are passing from the tank. And what is in the tank? Actual tubes. So from the tubes, hot flue gases are passing, and around the tubes there is a water. So very less contact of fire tubes in contact with large amount of water inside the tank. So efficiency is less. That's why it is a low pressure boiler. High pressure boiler means what? Water inside the tube is getting heated, surrounded by the hot flue gases. So very good contact of hot flue gases with the water tubes. So high built up of pressure, and so it is called as a high pressure boiler. So this is nothing but about where is the combustion chamber, externally fired, internally fired. Based on axis of boiler, like I said, vertical and horizontal. So vertical axis boiler is Cochran boiler. Horizontal boiler axis boiler is nothing but the Babcock and Wilcox boiler. These are the name of scientists. Nothing funny here. So this is the horizontal boiler. Now, based on service, some of the boilers are used in marine applications, so marine boilers. Some boilers are stationary boilers. Some boilers are small, portable boilers. Some boilers are placed on some locomotives, the big one, right? Railways and all. So locomotive boilers are those. Are some industries, those are passed over some certain conveyor. So locomotive boilers. In our college, we have a small boiler in the workshop. Okay, where you are coming for the workshop practicals. Just behind the last lab, there is a boiler, a small boiler. You can visit there once we are offline. Okay, fine. So this is a small classification of the boiler. If you see the simple animation here, this is a water tube boiler because water is flowing from the tube, right? And here this is the combustion chamber. So hot flue gases are passing over these water tubes, and here is the good contact of the flue gases with the water tubes. Water tubes are of course in large. Even though those are in a number of tubes, more number of tubes, but the contact is too much, and then that's why you get a high efficiency here. In case this fire tube boiler, there are tubes of fire or smoke, and around it there is a water which is available in the tank. So large amount of water is getting heated with the small number of fire tubes. So low pressure boiler. So it is less than 20 bar. This is water tube boiler. This one, it is more than 20 bar. I hope you are getting it. Quickly we'll see the classification quickly with the factors. So what is inside the tube? In case of water tube boiler, water is inside. Inside of a fire tube boiler, the flue gases or the smoke is inside, right? Then floor area for the same power requirement. Water tube boiler, of course, less requirement of floor area because efficiency is high. Say fire tube boiler, large area of requirement. The steam generation in water tube boiler, efficiency high, so the higher steam generation rate. Fire tube boiler, lesser. This is very easy. Based on factors, I am classifying it. Construction for water tube boiler, simple. For fire tube boiler, difficult. Transportation, water tube boiler, simple. Fire tube boiler, difficult. Some few more factors. Shell diameter, shell diameter is nothing but the boiler shell container. Shell diameter required for the water tube is less. Shell diameter large. Treatment of water, not so much treatment is necessary for water tube boilers. Treatment is required for the fire tube boiler. Then the skill of operator for operating this boiler, it requires more skill as well as careful attention. Okay, because these are the water tubes. So if something is broken, then there will be combustion chamber will not work, right? So that is a serious issue, little bit. It requires less skill for efficient and economic working of the fire tube boiler. Okay, because anyway efficiency and steam generation rate is less, so nobody take too much care compared to water tube boilers. Okay, accessibility of parts for cleaning, repair and inspection. Okay, the maintenance basically. So it has a more accessibility. So maintenance ports are there on the boiler. Manhole, for example, manhole. So man can go inside that port and it can clean all the boiler, inspect it and come back. So for inspection there is a manhole, and then so many devices, so many ports there on the water tube boilers. The parts are not so easily accessible in the fire tube boiler. For maintenance there is no access for some of the parts inside the boiler. Suitability for power generation, it is suitable for power generation because it is having high pressure, so we can produce some electricity, generate some electricity out of it. This is not suitable for the power generation, large power generation. Risk of Bursting is more for high pressure boiler, that is water tube boiler. It is less for fire tube boiler. Operating pressure is high, more than 100. It is about 100 bar, but define it. We define it as more than 20 bar high pressure boiler. It can reach up to 100 bar. Less pressure for fire tube up to 60 bar. Of course, it is less than 20 bar. Now, if you understood about the steam generation, we quickly we will talk about the 4-stroke petrol engine and or 4-stroke diesel engine. When I say 4-stroke, okay, that is related to the movement of the piston. You see, this is the piston. Okay, this is the piston. There is no animation here. There may be later, but in this image, no. So this is a piston. This is actually a cylinder, a big one. This is a cylinder. The blue color you can see, this is a cooling water. Okay, because it is just shown here. Okay, sometimes it is very hot. Normally it is very hot because of the burning of the fuel inside. So we need to cool it in order to increase the efficiency and in order to stop the damages to other parts of the this engine. Okay, so we are keeping it at certain low temperature. I mean, you are maintaining the temperature. It is too much high. Okay, but if your 2-wheeler engine, if you see, it is air cooled engine. Your 4-wheeler engine, it is water cooled or oil cooled engine. Understood? In the radiator, and there is engine oil also to cool the engine. Okay, in the 4-wheeler. In the our 2-wheeler, there is a air is passing over the external surface of the external surface of the engine. So it is air cooled engine. Anyway, this is a cylinder, and inside cylinder there is a piston. Piston is connected to the connecting rod, which is here. Connecting rod is connected to the crank. Okay, this crank. So crank, this arrow is showing the crank. So crank is rotating like this. Okay, so you switch on the engine. As soon as you switch on the engine, the crank starts rotating. When crank starts rotating, the connecting rod is oscillating up and down. And when it is oscillating up and down in this fashion, okay, so piston, as it is connected to that, it will reciprocate up and down. So topmost position of the piston is called TDC, top dead center. Bottommost position of the piston inside the cylinder, it is called BDC, bottom dead center. Here it is bottom dead center, Up is top dead center. So piston is normally going up and down here. Okay. So why 4-stroke? Because piston is moving up and down, say 2 times up, 2 times down. So that is nothing but 4 times. So 4 movements of piston for 1 cyclic operation of the engine. Clear? For 1 cyclic operation of engine, the piston is actually moving 2 times up, 2 times down. That means 4 times reciprocating. So it is called as a 4-stroke engine. If somebody is talking about 2-stroke engine, what will be it? Very simple answer you can give.
2 times up and down.
Correct. 2 times of time up and down. That means two movements of the piston. 1 times it goes up, 1 times it will go down. So for 1 cyclic operation, it will have 2 movements of the piston, 2 reciprocation, up, down, over, up, down, over, up, down, over. So this way cycles are happening. Here 1 cycle completes in 4 strokes of the piston. So that's why 4-stroke, up, down, up, down. Okay, fine. So here you'll see what is the first stroke. This is a petrol engine. So what may be coming inside is the petrol and air mixture. So there is something called as a carburetor for petrol engine. So in the carburetor, air plus petrol mixture, it is made in adequate quantity, and it will be sent inside the this engine cylinder. Okay, cylinder. So at that time, this inlet wall, this is the inlet wall, this will be kept open. So that time actually piston is going down. So many interactions. See, piston is actually going down. At that time, little bit suction is created here. At that time, the inlet wall or suction wall will be open, so that the new charge is nothing but fuel plus air mixture for petrol engine. So fuel means petrol. So petrol plus air mixture is the charge. So charge is coming inside in the suction stroke when piston is going down. So first stroke. At that time, you see this exhaust port or exhaust valve is closed. This is closed. At the center, you see there is a spark plug. It is not operating yet. Okay, fine. Then in the second stroke, as this crank is rotating, it will not go anywhere, but it will go now up. So in the second stroke, piston starts climbing up. Piston moves from BDC to TDC, bottom dead center to TDC, top dead center. I hope my voice is too much, not too much loud. Sorry for that. Okay, so this one is BDC, bottom dead center, and this is top dead center. So piston moves from BDC to TDC. It is moving, right? You can see. At that time, whatever fuel has entered, or I mean charge has entered, charge, fuel mixture. Charge has entered initially in the first stroke, suction stroke or intake stroke, that is getting compressed, everything. That fuel mixture is getting compressed, that charge is getting compressed. Why? Because it will not go anywhere out, because both the valves are closed, inlet valve and exhaust valve, both the valves are closed. So it is getting compressed. At the end of compression stroke, there is a current supply of current, and then spark is produced. Spark plug will produce the spark. As soon as spark is in contact with pressurized charge, it will explode, because it is at very high temperature and high pressure, but not at that temperature where it will ignite. It will self ignite. Understood? You note this, keep this in mind. The fuel charge or the fuel mixture it is at very high temperature and high pressure at the end of compression stroke, second stroke, but not at that high temperature where it will self ignite. Okay, so that's why we require this spark plug. Now spark plug will produce the spark, and then there is a complete the bursting of this fuel charge, and all the pressure will be exerted on the head of the piston, and then piston is rapidly going down. This is called expansion stroke. Literally there is a exploding, okay, bursting. So this is called now expansion stroke. Why? Because those compressed gases, compressed charge, it is expanded by burning. While burning, after burning, it will be expanded rapidly. So it is called expansion stroke. That is also power stroke, because piston is rapidly going down, rapidly moves from TDC to BDC. Why I am repeating it again and again? Because it is important. It is for two-stroke petrol engine. It is for two-stroke diesel engine. Understood? So we are actually covering two questions here. So this is expansion stroke, that is also called as a power stroke. Why expansion stroke? Because compressed charge is getting expanded after burning. Expansion stroke. It is rapidly going down, so it is called a power stroke. Okay, fine. So at that time, piston is going down. Okay, so this is a power stroke. Next, due to the inertia of this crank, it starts again rotating, and this time piston moves from BDC to TDC, bottom dead center to top dead center. Next time, at that time now, this exhaust valve is kept open. Exhaust valve is kept open now. Inlet valve is off. Exhaust valve is kept open, and now all the burned gases, okay, CO, maybe the CO2, then hydrocarbons, burned hydrocarbons, okay, so NX and HX, all will be sent out. So this is going through the silencer. You have seen the silencer for your bike, right? So exhaust pipeline. So from that, it is going inside the environment, atmosphere. So this is a 4-stroke. So first stroke is suction, piston is going down, inlet valve is open, exhaust valve is closed, so fuel charge is coming in. Second stroke, both the valves are closed, piston is going up from BDC to TDC. There is a compression. Okay, so compression stroke is second one. At the end of compression stroke, spark is produced. Due to spark, there is a bursting or exploding of this mixture. It is burning. There is a combustion, and rapidly piston moves down. That is called power stroke. As the fuel is getting expanded, it is called as the expansion stroke. So this is the expansion stroke, power stroke, third stroke. Both the valves are closed in second stroke, compression stroke and power stroke. Okay, fourth stroke, when piston again moves from this BDC to TDC, top dead bottom dead center to top dead center, expansion wall or exhaust wall is kept open and all the burned gases will be sent down. That is nothing but a complete cycle. For 180-degree rotation, piston is moving from TDC to BDC. For next 180-degree rotation, piston is moving from BDC to TDC. Okay, so 360 is one. Now for next 180-degree rotation, piston is moving from TDC to BDC. For next 180-degree rotation, piston is again moving lastly for TDC to BDC. So 360, no, it is 360 into 2. 720 degrees rotations for the crank, total rotation, 2 crank rotations, and for 2 crank rotations, you have 4 reciprocation of the piston. So it is called a 4-stroke engine. As you use here petrol, you require spark plug to produce the spark and burn the charge. That's why it is called as a petrol engine. As spark it is produced, it is called as a spark ignition engine. Understood? This is also called as a spark ignition engine. Why? Because spark is produced. Okay, combustion is happening because of the spark plug. So spark ignition engine. Ignition is happening because spark. So petrol engine is also called as spark ignition engine. This is basically internal combustion engine, IC engine. Internal combustion, because combustion is happening inside of the cylinder, inside the power plant. Internal combustion engine. And type is petrol engine or spark ignition engine first. Now, how do you see? You will not, you cannot draw this kind of complicated figure. I would say little bit complicated compared as far as your capacity is considered in exam. Okay, so complicated figure. So you will not draw this kind of figure. You will draw this kind of figure in exam. Are you with me? Is it easy? No.
Yes.
In Marathi we say this is goal budacha chambu, right? This kind of this conical section, circular one, cylindrical. You can say anything, but here this kind of cylinder you can make. Okay, very simple. You can make 4. You can make 4 cylinders, such a cylinder. Instead of this is now it can be this figure can be used for the 4-stroke petrol engine also, but now here we will take some knowledge about the 4-stroke diesel engine. Okay, so anyway, you will draw this kind of figure. Instead of the spark plug here, instead of spark plug, you name it as the fuel injection valve or fuel injector, fuel injection valve and fuel injector, from where the actual diesel is injected inside the cylinder. Okay, then there is as usual inlet valve, exhaust valve or outlet valve. Everywhere you can see. As usual for second stroke, compression and power, both the valves are closed. As usual for first stroke, that is suction stroke, when piston is going down, there is 180 degree of rotation of the crank from here to here. Okay, that time inlet valve is open, exhaust valve or outlet valve is closed, and at that time only air, mind you here, please mind, only air is coming inside. This is diesel engine. This is diesel. If it would have been petrol engine, what is coming in? Then it is air plus fuel mixture. Air plus fuel mixture is coming inside the spark ignition engine. But this is the diesel engine, so only air is coming inside, no diesel. Only air is coming inside, and as air is coming inside, the air is getting sucked. There is suction stroke. Then in the second stroke, both the valves are closed, and only for next 180 degree rotation of the crank, piston moves from BDC to TDC, bottom dead center to top dead center. Very same. This you have to write in exam, working of the 4-stroke engine. Piston moves from this BDC to TDC. The air is getting, which is it is inside. This is getting compressed, and you know there is a property of air. When it is getting compressed, suddenly it starts rising in temperature, very high temperature. It reaches to very high temperature. Okay, here it reaches to very high temperature. So it starts rising. Air starts building its temperature very high. This time both the valves are closed, and now at the end of compression stroke, second stroke, the diesel is injected inside the cylinder. Diesel is injected. As soon as the droplets of the diesel is in contact with the very hot air, it will explode. There is a burning, and all the pressure will be exerted on the piston head, and piston moves from TDC to BDC. Third stroke, expansion stroke, power stroke. This is power stroke. At the time both the valves are closed. Okay. So second stroke is this compression stroke. Third stroke is the power stroke when piston moves from TDC to BDC. Understood? And as only air is coming inside, okay, and only less amount of diesel you are injecting inside, and then you get a power stroke. Actual fuel efficiency for diesel engine is quite higher than the petrol engine. That's why you get a higher mileage for the diesel engine. Diesel cars are giving you maximum kilometer compared to, higher kilometer compared to the petrol. Fuel consumption is lower for diesel engine. Economy is higher. Fuel economy is higher. Cost is also less for diesel, right? What is the current cost for diesel? Current cost for diesel? How much it is costing for per liter?
85, 87, sir.
Almost 87, 89 rupees. And what about petrol?
97.
98.
Correct, 97, 98. Very good, very good, very good. And now what about CNG? CNG, any
Sir,
idea?
45.
Very good, 45 to 50. What?
45 to 50
What?
Rupees.
But what? Rupees per what? Per kilometer?
kg.
Per
kg.
kg. Yes. There is the only small difference. You normally you measure performance or the cost diesel and petrol for some rupees per liter. Okay, and for it is for LPG, CNG it is 45 to 50 rupees per kg. Now this is nothing but now 4-stroke, where all the burned gases will be sent out when exhaust valve is or outlet valve is open. That time inlet valve will be kept open. Piston moves from the BDC to TDC. That the last time. So 2 crank rotations, for that 4 reciprocations of the piston up and down. So you get a 4-stroke. And why it is called diesel? Because there is a fuel injector instead of spark plug. In petrol engine there is a spark plug. In petrol engine what is coming in? That is petrol plus air mixture is coming in. In case of diesel engine, only air is coming in. So fuel burning for each cycle is less in case of diesel. That's why you get a better economy for diesel engine. Are you with me? You got it? In petrol engine, petrol and air is coming inside, so quite higher burning, fuel consumption for the petrol. But diesels are having some problem that we have discussed already in practical. I'm not going through this, but you can ask me later if somebody missed those practical sessions. Okay, fine. So this is the working of the 4-cylinder engine. Maybe present at heavy vehicles like buses, trucks. You'll see 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder engines. Some of the cars, 40 bike cars will have 4-cylinder engines. Normal cars may have 2-cylinder or 3-cylinder engine. Our bike is having 1-cylinder engine. Some sport bikes are having 2-cylinder or 3-cylinder. No, 2-cylinder is sufficient. Okay, through 2-cylinder engines. Now cylinder means what? This is a cylinder. 1 cylinder, 1 piston, right? 1 cylinder, 2 cylinder, 3 cylinder, 4 cylinder. This is not a 4-stroke engine. It is 4-stroke engine, but in each cylinder you get 4-stroke. Okay, so this is 1 cylinder, 2nd cylinder, 3rd cylinder, 4th cylinder. So for each cylinder there are different spark. If it is 4-cylinder petrol engine, so 4 spark plugs are there. 4 pistons are there inside the 4-cylinder. And there are different cam mechanisms. That's why this opening timing of valves and then the spark of the spark plug is controlled. Its timing is controlled, properly controlled, so that at a time there will be only 1 power stroke out of this 4-cylinder. So you see the orange color is nothing but a power or expansion stroke. So at a time once it is happening. So at a time at once there is a suction stroke. At a time there is a in 2nd cylinder there is a compression, maybe 3rd cylinder there is expansion, 4th cylinder is exhaust. So 4-cylinder engine. Why you require more cylinder? Because you want to carry the heavy weight with a smooth condition. Okay, you do not want a jerk. Okay, power stroke, you always have a jerk in the power stroke. but you don't want power a jerk in the power stroke to your vehicle. So you want a smooth power, smooth running. That's why multi-cylinder engines are used for heavy vehicles. This is important. The last part of the today's lecture is the two-stroke engine. Now you got the two-stroke engine means one and one down movement and up movement. So two strokes. So this is two-stroke engine, but little bit construction is different because here you do not have the walls, but you have the port, inlet port and outlet port. You see it. Are you able to see it? Are you with me? Just 2 minutes. We'll close today's lecture. Start typing your roll numbers now. Are you listening? Are you listening this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fine. I cannot see who are attending, but please reply whenever I ask. Okay, so it's little bit a different the construction. These see lines you can see. You just observe my cursor. Okay, you just see these lines. Those are nothing but the fins. Those are the metallic fins. Those are used for higher heat transfer rate due to the convection. Air is in contact with this solid fins, and then it is dissipating the heat from the engine. So for heat dissipation, heat transfer, these are the fins. Okay, anyway, now here you have inlet port. If you see inlet port, and this is you have the exhaust port from which the burned gases are coming out, and this is nothing but a transport port. Please concentrate. Everything is same. There is a piston, there is connecting rod, there is a crank. So crank is rotating as usual in the crankcase. This is called crankcase. This is called crankcase. Now, what is coming in if you are talking about the petrol engine? Now, just to talk about the petrol engine, okay? And you can use it for diesel also. So when when you talk about petrol as a petrol engine, two-stroke engine, so from inlet port, okay? So just observe what is happening, this animation carefully. When piston is going up, okay, when this arrow, these two arrows I have drawn here, when piston is going up, at that time inlet port is open and only air plus petrol mixture is coming in the crankcase. Good? Are you with me? Okay, piston is going up, that time crankcase, petrol plus air mixture is coming in, so it is nothing but the suction stroke. At the same time, you just observe the piston upward movement. When piston is going up, actually at that time the fuel mixture which was already there, it has been transferred through the transport port and it is going inside the combustion chamber. You see it, it is coming, it is opening. Okay, then fuel mixture is transferring from the transfer port. Who is pushing? Crank is pushing it. Just observe, inlet port is open, even though in the petrol plus air mixture is coming inside. When piston is going up, actually through the transfer port, the pressurized in the crankcase, actually it is getting pressurized. Okay, when piston is going down, the fuel mixture inside the crankcase, it is getting pressurized. See, piston is going down. Okay, so here it is getting pressurized, so compression is happening. From transfer port, compressor fuel mixture is going inside the combustion chamber, and now it is getting compressed, and then there is a spark plug and it is burning. And piston going down means what? At the time the burned fuel gases are going out. Okay, so this is complete nice working, but now you need to check which two strokes. Please be with me. So in the first stroke, when piston going up, at that time in the combustion chamber, whatever fuel came from the transport port, it is getting compressed. See, when piston is going up, fuel is getting compressed here, so compression stroke. And when piston is actually going up, inlet port is open and the fuel is getting sucked inside in the crankcase. So for the piston movement from BDC to TDC, bottom dead center to top dead center, bottom to top, at that stroke, two strokes are happening, suction stroke and compression stroke. In the crankcase, it is suction stroke, and here it is compression stroke. Okay, so two stroke at one movement of the piston from bottom to top. When there is a burning of the spark, I mean the spark, there is burning by the spark. Then there is expansion, that is a power stroke. Then piston is going down. Piston is going down. At that time, when piston is going down, there is a compression, small compression, little bit compression in the crankcase, fine. But there is a compression stroke or power. There is an expansion stroke and power stroke. That is third stroke. And at the same time, this exhaust port will be open and all burned gases will be sent out. Understood? Are you with me? So two strokes at the same time. When piston is going from BDC to TDC, that time there is suction in the crankcase and compression in the combustion chamber. When piston is moving TDC to BDC, there is a power stroke in the combustion chamber, and then through the exhaust port there is an expansion stroke or exhaust stroke. Okay, so this is about the two-stroke engine. We'll discuss this pros and cons for CNC in the next lecture. Actually, it will take only 2 minutes, but it's better to leave the class because there may be a next lecture waiting for you. Or in the next lecture, tomorrow's lecture, you come with some pros and cons of CNG. You'll search on internet. I have taken this from internet. There is a reference for this also. This is a reference. So we will discuss this tomorrow. Okay. Okay, fine. Have a nice day.